Okay, here we go. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome. Thank God it's Monday, and welcome to Manufacturing Monday Motivation. We are here live. Damon, hey, did you go to a baseball game yesterday?
Yes, I did.
How
Yes, I
was it?
did.
Was it awesome? Your
It was
son?
awesome. I tell you what, we lost the game, but it was awesome, and it's a big turning point in my family. It's the first time my son actually bought me tickets to go to a baseball
Son
game.
bought you tickets, and so
Yeah,
Aarin, I know you can look forward to this with your 7-year-old. So, all right, let's take a deep dive, Damon. So glad you had an awesome weekend. What a turning point as a dad. Your son bought you first tickets to the Seattle Mariners. So even
yeah,
though they didn't win, it was still a wonderful bonding experience with your
yes,
son.
it
So
was.
Fantastic. I'm
congratulations.
still enjoying macaroni necklaces.
Yeah, yeah,
There you
exactly.
go.
Yeah, you're
That's
in.
good
All right,
stuff, though.
All right,
That's
enjoy
good
it only
stuff.
goes up from here. That's good.
Well,
Yeah, it
all
does.
right, guys, let's dig into an intro here. So it is my honor. It's my privilege. I've been looking forward to this for months. I believe it's been several months. So I want to introduce everybody to Aarin Clemons. He is with the MEP in Rhode Island. And so that is a Polaris MEP. He's a workforce expert, workforce specialist. So Aarin, happy Monday, my friend. Welcome. And tell us a little bit what's going on in your world today.
Indeed. Fantastic to be here. I am hot off the road, traveling, having seen some family this past weekend. So
Nice.
mind is a buzz getting back into the office and working during this kind of summertime ebb and flow with manufacturers. You know, everyone wants a little bit of vacation squeezed in there, but we all collectively have a lot of work to do together. So yeah, it's full speed ahead.
Well, let's take a deep dive here. So a few things I tell you, Damon. Just Aaron's very modest, but I just want to share a few things. Damon, you're going to be blown away here. So Aaron, plug your ears. And we're going to talk all about you for a minute here. But emerging leader of the year for the Rhode Island Hospitality and Tourism Association. You're the champion of the adult learning from the United Way. You're part of the new Leaders Council. Graduate from Johnson and Wales. And so, and I'll tell you, man, you are just, conversations with you, you're doing amazing work as a workforce specialist at the Polaris MEP. So here's my first question for you today. Are you sitting down for this one? Are you ready? Okay. You are such a wonderful success at such a bright young age. As a young man growing up, or I'm going to go back further, little boy growing up, who was your hero growing up? Who was your hero that inspired you to be just such a relentless force of energy? Who was that hero in your world?
Yeah. So thank you, first of all. I don't know if it's modesty that I feel when I hear these compliments, but my therapist would say to just take them. So thank you very much for that introduction.
Just hug them. That's right.
Exactly. Just feel them all. My hero growing up and still as a driving force is my mother, and not because I'm an only child mother's boy when I was raised, but I truly had an example of trying. Right. I try to not go too deep into the bootstrapping, work hard, and all will come to you. Right. But trying your best, making some plans, following through on them, and then pivoting as is necessary, right? But just consistent trying to some end will help you move forward, right? You can't always see where you're going as much as you hope things are clear, and you don't always know what will be ahead, but trying will always move you some direction forward. And watching my mother graduate with her master's the same year I graduated high school really shows you, right?
Awesome.
Rather than being told you're supposed to go to college, it shows you why college works for her, right? Why she chose that step, right? Watching her get her degree in education and moving on and growing and now being a director of centers herself, right? And also making several lateral moves within just education as a field, trying, doing, right? Really framed a lot of how I thought about options, finding options, investigating, analyzing, and deciding what was next for me just as a right next step, just do the best next thing, right? Always really worked for me.
Man, you know what? Usually we have like
do the best next thing. Do
Yeah.
the best next thing.
Next
I
thing.
like that.
I think, usually we have like a little moment of silence through like when people do those mic drop moments, Aaron, usually it's like a little bit later in the program. I think, Damon, this was the first, the earliest moment of silence that we had in the program.
Yep.
So do the best next thing. What's mom's name?
Sharon.
Sharon. Well, hey, God bless Sharon for all the drive and what she produced here, and such a fine young man. So, hey, we want to give a shout out and a big hello to Sharon. So send her our best. That's the best thing, man. I love that.
Give her flowers. Give her flowers while she can still smell them. Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's dig in. So you go off to college and you decide, man, you're going to take your talents, your skills, and bring them into. You started off with a hospitality direction. Is that correct? Or
I did. And, I went to college here at Johnson & Wales. I transferred in for small business management and entrepreneurship degree, knowing that I needed some sort of skills behind me to realize some of the dreams, the interests, the goals that I had. I knew I needed the skills. I knew even at that stage that I didn't want to run with the sharks. I knew I needed to find a pond to swim in that was comfortable for me. And someplace I had some space to learn, to look around and pick up skills. So everything about transferring over to Johnson & Wales was the perfect move for me.
Nice.
Whether I knew it at the time or not.
So after graduating, let's take a little dive into like what was going on with your career, your thoughts. How did you get started? What were your ambitions? And how then we'll lead up to like how you found yourself into manufacturing. So what was going on? Like, fresh out of college, you're going to conquer the world. What was happening there?
Mm-hmm. Fresh out of college, I wanted to change the world. Sure. As young upstart graduates do. And I found myself with bills to pay. And and a life that needed living. So I quickly found that I was a people person. My mother used to refer to me as a social butterfly, and I realized that that had some benefit there. I realized that it had some benefit that I was able to maintain whatever was going on inside emotionally. I could essentially find a place for myself in just about any room I was in. Right. Whether I was on the complete outside of whatever core group was in that room, or whether or not I was surrounded with like-minded folks, I could always find a way to appear comfortable in every room and pick something up. So that served me well in the hospitality industry. I was able to make other people feel equally as comfortable, whether I was a server, moving on to becoming a manager of a place. Right. I found early success in curating a lot of events and experiences, right? So early on, I became a DJ of a venue that I was also a supervisor at, right? And that came out of not any notions of superstardom, but it came out of a need to curate the space and curate the energy and the experience for folks coming into the space. I recognized that the background music we had on wasn't doing it, right? It wasn't meeting the same quality level that our product was, that our staff was after all of the training, right? That needed attention too. So I began making mixes to be played in the space, and then moved on to live DJing during key moments, Friday, Saturday nights, and things like that, booking. So early, while still in college, success, exploring that side of things, really cool experiences.
Well, I love that. So a couple of things I want to hit on real quick there. So as you talked about, like, being comfortable in every situation. And so, what I'm hearing, hey, you're an extrovert, but not only extrovert was that confidence level. I usually don't go here and I usually don't talk about this, but I feel compelled to. Can you talk a little bit about like what, when you're young, 20s, college, whatever, sometimes we're awkward, we're around, other folks, maybe folks that aren't like us or what have you. What do you feel, what was behind that confidence level that you brought into your workplace?
I had very little actual confidence, but I had the ability, to really tap into what I knew was a true worth. I had little confidence that other people understood my worth, but again, watching a woman, raise me in such a fashion that she made her own worth undeniable, I recognized that whatever one might think of the external forces, I knew my own worth, and knew that I could find ways to leverage it, and to make it apparent to other people. So I had very little actual bravado in these spaces at the time, but I knew how to stay quiet, look around, build connections, make relationships in honest ways with folks. And that's something that served me well. I was able to make honest, real relationships with people because I believed, even before I understood the terminology of it all, I believed in meeting people where they were at, right? And moving together in whatever direction you two decide to move together into. But meeting folks where they're at is a really, really important part of running any business and of relationship building in any way is meeting folks right where they're at. It's a skill.
Yeah. And
let me peg it. Made my worth undeniable.
Yeah.
Made that, like, mic drop moment number 2. And what are we? We're 10 minutes into this thing,
Yeah.
Made my worth undeniable. Damon, what's your takeaway on that?
Well, I just think that I listened to you tell your story about when you were in college, and then you started to realize that you needed that DJing and the right music, so it's the right atmosphere, so it's the right energy level. It is so important when you look at these events and what you were doing to really understand energy level and atmosphere and everything, and how music really helps that. And that you took the initiative and really walked through that and did it. It's because it does, and you can set, and that's why DJ gets it. People go, whoa, why do DJs get paid? They get paid to make sure the place is having a good time. And you may not even like the music that you're playing, but if everybody there is having a good time, you're doing your job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love
in
that.
Hospitality, that's the difference between success and failure, because they keep coming back, or they go tell their friends they had a great experience. It's a huge determination in how you're going to succeed or fail.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. So guys, if you're out there, so Margot drops a hello. Good morning, Cargo Margot. Thank you for joining us today. Guys, we're here today with Aarin Clemons, and he's with the Polaris MEP. That's the MEP of Rhode Island. Please drop us a note. Let us know you're here. You want to absolutely make a connection here with Aarin. And so let's. I'm gonna continue this conversation a little bit further. And what I love is we talk about so many manufacturers where, how often do we hear manufacturers says, "Oh, I'm a commodity. I'm a commodity." And what I really wish that they would have a different mindset when they say that. And what I love what you're talking about here is, as a DJ, boy, I can't be a commodity. Like, you need to get, fired up. You need to, when you're in that customer service, when you're in that hospitality world, you really need to fire things up. So let's talk a little further in your career as we lead up to your decision to bring your skills, your talents, your expertise, your superpowers to the world of manufacturing. Anything else that you want to touch on in your career? Any other highlights that you want to share before we take a dive into manufacturing?
I do. I want to make that connection. So we get here. We get to how I found manufacturing because, as I said earlier, I enjoy things that provide access and opportunity. I recognize that I needed to be surrounded by people that were going to afford me access and opportunity early on. And I've worked to a place where I can now afford others access and opportunity. I worked to what was a personal height for myself. Managing the Dean Hotel locally here in Providence, met an individual who has since become a very important mentor for me in my life, both professionally and personally, sharing those same values about access and opportunity for everybody that we have the privilege of working with and managing. That height brought me to the place where I realized I cared less for glitz, glam, fancy plates, or fancy accommodations, right? I cared less for that on a daily basis than I did for taking care of people and making sure they felt that they were working to their best, right? Meeting them where they were at, right? To build standards together and making sure they felt like they were working at their best and working in a direction that they were seeing the growth that they wanted to see in themselves, right? And feeling like they had the resources and opportunity, the access to realize their own potential. So I also began doing some coaching for first-time managers after receiving that leadership award. And reaching that height led me to consider what other industries would allow me to work to promote access and opportunity. And manufacturing is it, boy. In this state, hospitality and manufacturing are actually two of the biggest driving forces economically, both in terms of number of individual businesses operating in those industries and number of employees. Both of them are two huge driving factors in the state. So it actually wound up being a lateral move for me that very few people understood, because they were focused on, what do you know about manufacturing? But Polaris MEP understood exactly what I knew, which was admittedly little about manufacturing, but very much so about creating access and opportunity for other people to access manufacturing. So it was fantastic lateral move.
Well, that's perfect. So let's do this. Let's for anybody out there that might be new to the MEP, they're like, "Hey guys, what you guys keep talking about this MEP thing? What are you talking about?" So, Aarin, could you please just let's describe what the MEP. Just do an introduction for everybody. What is the MEP, Manufacturing Extension Partnership? And then what I want to do is then I want to slide back. I want to take a deeper dive on what truly attracted you and how your journey led into to Polaris and into manufacturing. But what is this MEP network that we're chatting about today?
Absolutely. You said it with the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. It took me about 3, maybe 4 months to get that right.
Yeah. A year, so that you're way ahead of me.
Money extension program and all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
But it is indeed the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. That is the federal program that manages manufacturing improvement centers across the country. So the example that I like to give is that whenever the current president of the day, whoever they are, gives you their speech and says they're going to strengthen American manufacturing, right? They sign a bill on TV and you see that money present, you see the signing and you wonder, where is it going? This is one of the main places it's going, right? It's in NIST, right? The federal office that manages this money and flows it down to the MEP center in each state, of which there is one designated for each state, as well as one in Puerto Rico, as there are colonies. So there is a center that is entrusted to manage and be an advisor and almost a personal assistant to the entirety of the manufacturing industry in that state. So we're meant to be responsive. So each MEP doesn't operate exactly the same because, the industry in each state is not exactly the same. Each MEP is tasked with being very responsive to what that state needs. And that's why here in our MEP, we have such a strong workforce department, which is truly the two of us, Lindsay and myself.
Yes.
But I'm very proud of the work we've been able to do because it is a huge demonstrated need, the need for workforce development in manufacturing in the state. So we're very responsive to those needs.
Yeah. That's perfect. So
great explanation.
Yeah, great explanation. Just a recap for anybody out there. So if you happen to be in the great state of Rhode Island, boy, you absolutely want to connect with Aarin. You want to connect with Aarin no matter where you are. But secondly, if you're a manufacturer out there, regardless of what state you're in, as he just mentioned, these are tax dollars at work for manufacturers throughout the entire country. There's an MEP in all 50 states. And, one of our favorite words is, you just mentioned it, that trusted guide, trusted resource to help manufacturers with all sorts of different scopes. And we're going to take a deeper dive there. So, all right, we have a nice explanation of what that MEP network is for folks out there. So, Aarin, let's talk about, okay, so you're just crushing it. You're bring your talents, your skills, your superpowers to hospitality, and you decide, hey, man, this manufacturing world might be for me. Talk about that transition and how did Polaris come on your radar? Like, what was the appeal? Like, man, I think this might be a good fit. Share that story with us.
Yep. Indeed. Access and opportunity, quality of life is that third piece. Quality of life is extremely important. And that's one thing that that the hospitality industry still needs to catch up to. It's harder than it sounds, is structures and a way to build their companies, their operations, to promote the same level of quality of life, that is at the same quality level as the plates they're putting out and drinks they're preparing, right? So all of that glitz and glam on the outside, again, on the outside, that customers experience, right? There needs to be the same attention and resource given, right, to what the employee experiences, right? So it's an industry that doesn't often provide healthcare, right? And so I can't point to one single restaurant, right, as falling behind, right? I can't point to one single hotel as falling behind on that, right? It's an industry-wide thing that hospitality still has to catch up to building companies in a way that they can offer a high quality of life to their employees, right? I needed that. I have a 7-year-old child who, I'm not sure if he needs me more than I need him or vice versa. But, the lessons that I learn from him every day remind me of the time and attention that needs to be spent, with our next generation. And so I needed a shift into something that would allow me to explore creating access and opportunity deeper and allow me a quality of life to be able to pick up my son from school if he wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
Right? And that not be a point of shame, right? Or be a point where I was concerned about leaving my peers in the lurch without my presence because we were working at a point where we were stretched so thin, right, that any one person's presence, right, being taken from the team leaves the rest of your team in the lurch. So there's a lot of shame and guilt that comes along with working in the hospitality industry, even when you have a company that is actively trying to do right by its employees, which I've been fortunate enough to work with, companies that have the utmost respect for me, right? That I still go to as a customer, that I still refer people to jobs at because I do respect how the company manages itself. But again, there's a certain amount of guilt when you're leaving your coworkers behind, right? Because you need to manage something in your personal life. And that's something that I needed in a company, and Polaris MEP is 100% puts 100% importance in staff well-being, just as much as we truly mean it when we say we are going to try our best for our local small to medium manufacturers. Polaris MEP truly tries its best, and it's just evident every day.
Awesome.
So let's talk. All right. So while we're on the topic of Polaris, let's dig into your team. I know you have a rock star director. I've met Aarin on your team. So let's talk about manufacturer in Rhode Island. They're like, hey, who's behind the curtain, Aarin? So I'm meeting you. Who else is? Who are some of these other superstars? So let's talk a little bit about your team and the expertise that you guys bring to the table here.
Yeah, we are a small group, small but mighty. We have our center director, who you met, rock star, Kathy Mahoney. That trickles on down to Sarah Reggio, who manages our handful of project managers. I won't name each, but we've got about 5 project managers that go out extremely hands-on and will help you to deduce the issue that you're facing, make sure it's clear, make sure you have clear recommendations for how we can help you, and then actually execute those things, right? So those project managers are probably a 60-40 split, if I had to say it. 60% of what we do are those project managers helping you to figure out how we can help you the right way, and then actually helping you, right? And then that 40% of workforce as a department, right, executing with the same top line, bottom line, pipeline strategy in place, which is one of our unspoken taglines, right? We seek to help Rhode Island manufacturers with top line, bottom line, and pipeline strategies. Clearly, motorsports is the huge driver of pipeline. And so we have our director of marketing, Aarin, who you met, and other folks on the marketing team who helped me set up this lovely Zoom and banner here today, this lovely stream. So we have a really small but mighty team. If I could go into a little bit more depth on those project managers.
Yeah, please.
Because it's been amazing to watch them work and to watch how they approach what they do. Because it's great being in a place where it's not our job to sell you on what we do. It's our job to deliver on what we do, truly. So an easy to understand example that I witnessed firsthand that I take with me is, a manufacturer hitting a certain production level where they now believe they need a larger space, right? That's great for the industry, right? Great for the state. That means a larger space. That means more room to make more money. That means you're likely going to have to hire more employees. We can help you with all of that. We have a specialist on staff who helps with facility layouts. He is the most entertaining nerd about blueprints and facilities layout, right? It is fantastic to watch and so invigorating. And the first thing he does before selling you on allowing him to help you lay out your shiny new facility, the first thing he does is he does a deep dive into how you're using your current space. Because 9 times out of 10, you can actually improve output from your current space and don't need to pay more rent to make more money, right? And that to me shows exactly what it means to be a trusted advisor, right? It's not his job to sell you, right, on a shiny new service when what he can actually do is provide you a solution, right, that works with what you're already dealing with, right? So let's increase that top line, right? Let's increase that efficiency so that that bottom line flow through is even better. That's how you're making more money truly, right? Without having to spend more, right? Always. So it's examples like that really just bring home how such a small but mighty team, really puts the needs of the manufacturers first. And it's just, again, amazing to watch every day.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What a blessing it is when you have just a team that you respect, you admire, you're in awe of. And again, how admirable it is that what you do as a function is helping manufacturers be more efficient, make more money, better workforce, marketing, whatever that, flavor is. And even though you guys have a small team, you have access to 49 other states plus Puerto Rico of, literally hundreds of other, rock stars in manufacturing that you can pull in. Plus, Damon, we know some of the folks at NIST, so there's cybersecurity, and we could go on and on. So, and Aaron, speaking of Aaron Reed is here with us today. So look at this.
Nice.
On the stage there, there's Aaron. Aaron, happy Monday. Thank you for putting this together. We're having a blast. And so, all right, Aaron, let's take a deep dive. Let's talk about you. It's all about you, right? Workforce development. I'll tell you, the conversation that you and I had, I was just completely mesmerized, blown away. Just, some of the things that you have going on. Can you just share with the folks, what are some of the things that they would expect working with Polaris or yourself or whatever state that they might be? What are some of the tactics, strategies that you're implementing or helping manufacturers on that workforce front?
So an important thing to remember with individuals watching this today is that Polaris MEP's workforce division is not a placement agency.
Yeah, thank you.
Again, we're responsive to manufacturers. So what we do is a combination of long-term tactics and very short-term tactics. In the long term, we are polling, meeting with, visiting, and getting very hands-on to learn about what manufacturers need from today's, near futures, and very far futures workforce, right? One need that became very clear was the need for CNC machinists, right? We were able to put together a training program along with CCRI as a partner that has now gone through 16 cohorts, right? Very effectively getting folks to work. And we've been able to put folks through that paid training, right? Again, meeting them where they're at, right? Allowing folks who have various levels of machining knowledge from none to some to lots, right? But wanting to make a lateral move and get into CNC machining particularly, right? Or any entry-level machining role, really. We've been able to put 16 cohorts through that program and into really meaningful jobs. So, yeah. Go ahead, David.
So I mean, this is a great example of how working together with MEPs, working together with the industry, you can create an overall program that fills a need that virtually everyone has across the industries that you serve.
So that's long term, creating training programs that get large amounts of people in due time into the industry, right? Really open up that funnel when we talk about the pipeline. Then the direct placement that we do indeed do is also building relationships with various partners, both on the state level, community organizations who serve as a referral point to us for folks who are mechanically inclined and ready to get to work. So
Yeah.
I am a placement agency, but only for my manufacturers, right? This is the point.
Yeah.
Any manufacturer in the state, whether we've done any level of business with them otherwise, is welcome to contact me. I'm sure you're going to have my contact email details available to share in the chat or details of the stream, but any and all are welcome to contact me to learn about programs that we have available to help you get qualified folks into your roles, to help you with grant strategies, to help you train your incumbent workforce, and to help you retain and grow that incumbent workforce. We have so many options that it actually can become sometimes a little bit daunting to give someone a 2-minute elevator speech because there's so many possibilities for how we can help.
Yeah. Well, and it's really these long-term, I mean, manufacturing, that everybody talks about the labor shortage, right? And we know that. We know we need people. We know we need people. We know we need to be as diverse as we possibly can, because it's not only is it right, it's we need that to get the workers that are required to fill the roles, because honestly, a lot of manufacturers don't have enough people to do what they need to do right now. And they're stretching their people thin. And that's the thing. So my question was around, what do you think is the biggest workforce challenge for manufacturers in Rhode Island right now? Not just hiring, but deeper than that. What is the biggest thing that you see them struggling to do? Yeah, we got to hire, but what is it really that's hitting them?
The entirety of the industry across the country, but also holds true for Rhode Island. The biggest challenge is rebranding, or I suppose even branding manufacturing in the first place as a fantastic career with a wide set of opportunities. And a small addendum to that is eliminating the conversation of college or work, because it's not an either or, particularly in this industry. It's a yes and, right? Again, that next best step, right? The next best step for some is indeed college. For some, it is indeed work. But neither has to cancel out the opportunity of the other at any stage. Many of the companies that retain folks, right, in the state have already recognized that and have fantastic marketing around what makes a career with their organization, right? 1. 2, they've invested in that educational well-being of their employees and have opportunities for employees to learn and grow, not just vertically, right? Because everyone is aware of how to climb a ladder, but horizontally, right? Laterally. They make lateral moves possible for folks who, like that example of our CNC training program, for folks who perhaps have been in one department at the company for a handful of years and want to learn machining, right? And that might be a lateral move. It might not be an increase in pay yet, but if it is an increase in satisfaction for that employee, that they're learning and growing both personally and professionally in a new skill set, it's absolutely worth that company's investment in that employee. We see it time and time again that retention is such a better strategy, right, than being the hot new ticket, for new hires to hit a revolving door of folks, right? Because when you become only about the paycheck, right, you are setting yourself up for a scenario where the next paycheck will beat you out, right? The next dollar up the road will beat you out, because that's all you've made clear to the employee is a benefit to them to be there. Your job descriptions, your upfront communication needs to make clear, right, that this is the beginning of a career in manufacturing for you. And I truly believe in them. It's been a year of me learning about these career pathways, and they, like you said, Damon, they make there's so many connections to how I viewed upward mobility and lateral moves within the hospitality industry. It seems just amazing to me that we haven't capitalized on branding manufacturing for what it is, right? We have, like I said earlier, folks who make small jewelers who make the trophy for the Kentucky Derby every year, right? We have folks locally making kimchi, kombucha, and all sorts of snacks and edibles, right? Manufacturers. We have folks making, specific screws that go on the space station, right? That they service NASA. We have folks locally that make parts for vehicles that are quite literally in every vehicle make and model, right? So again, they're in the lives. The things that are made here in Rhode Island are in the lives of Rhode Islanders and all Americans, right? Across the board. That is sort of the definition for the potential for a career, right? The amount of different things you can do, the amount of lateral moves, and the amount of room to grow vertically. It's exponential. And we've unfortunately done a poor job as a country of moving past the idea that manual labor is grunt work, right? Because we've made it, again, and either you go an intellectual college route or you go to trade school and do grunt work, when in fact, they are one and the same as the next best step for you, right? And they can absolutely work in tandem. Our training program, for example, I'll end on this. That CNC training program offers, by design, 13 credits, right? I told you it's in tandem with CCRI. It offers 13 college credits. You graduate with that certification, right? That is an industry recognized certification in machining, but you also graduate with 13 credits, just a few credits shy of an associate's degree, right? Which makes you now just a certain amount of credits shy of completing a bachelor's, right? The best companies leverage that, right? You're bringing someone into the company that has made an investment in their growth and knowledge base, and you can now complete that investment, right? By helping with tuition remission towards finishing a bachelor's. And you can't buy that kind of loyalty, right? Another dollar wouldn't buy you that level of loyalty,
yes,
right? That you get from a company, from an individual that has their investment reciprocated and matched, right? It's just,
Man,
it's a huge thing. It's just, there's so much there, Kurt. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, there's so much unpack what you just.
I'm glad I just let you go.
First off, I think the best thing to do would maybe, all right, so when you're listening to this or when you get done, there's a little like I'm an older guy, so I would say hit the rewind button for, remember the old cassettes, Damon? So instead of hitting the rewind button, just kind of like move that little thing back and just like listen to that again. There was just so much gold right there. So Aaron, I want to drop our friend Aaron. She said, hey, if folks are interested in the fast track and CNC manufacturing program that Aaron just described, it's right here at this link. So again, it's right here on LinkedIn in the chat box. Guys, we're on YouTube Live, we're on Twitter Live. So first off, you have to connect with Aaron on LinkedIn. First off, check out the Polaris website, Polaris MEP, and you're going to find out all sorts of this great information. We can't let go past on this program, Damon. We talk about this a lot. We love talking about women in manufacturing, diversity in manufacturing, and we love talking about all the cool kids are now going into manufacturing, right?
Yeah.
And you just kind of recap that. And what nobody has ever said on this program, it doesn't have to be an either or. Dude, you gave me skills. I don't have to go to college, or I have to go, all three of our mothers, here we have something in common. All three of our mothers went back to college in a non-traditional age, and God bless them. They've done amazing. All three of them are our heroes. So again, you don't, just because you don't want to go to college right out of high school, it doesn't mean anything negative. Mike Womack at the New Jersey MEP, mutual friend of ours, he always says, let's get rid of the white collar, blue collar thing. It's just like, hey, we have collars and we're going to work. Some of us don't wear a collar, So, all right, let's talk about this, Aaron. Let's take it another step further. We were talking a little bit, there's so much I want to talk about right now. We were talking about like that customer service aspect with your expertise, being in hospitality and some manufacturers, God bless our manufacturers. Maybe over the years, they've dealt with just a handful of customers where they didn't need to have like a real strong customer service department per se. But, and we were going to talk about that. Before we get into that, what a big takeaway for me is what you're talking about is like, we need to have like a customer service department for that attraction, for retention, for workforce. So we almost need to have kind of that customer service, that customer wow factor, and treat it's a little different bit of a mindset. We almost need to treat our customers like their employees, and exactly like you're saying, how can I retain them beyond, hey, that $1, if I'm a commodity, somebody pays me 50 cents more, $1 an hour more, I'm going up the road. Talk a little bit about your customer service expertise, or like, what are some other, like any other specific strategies that you want to talk about that you see that manufacturers are just really crushing it, of like attracting, retaining, and obtaining new staff?
So in this industry, the way most of the companies are structured, those efforts are usually being championed by HR, right?
Mhm.
Sources. And if you look at that term, right, they're viewing humans as a resource for the company, right? Language is important in terms of how it frames, right, the rules that we're applying to that term, right? So we're agreeing that humans are a resource for the company. So we're saying they're more than labor, right? Which is the term commonly used before, right? They're labor. No, they're more than labor. They're humans. They're a resource to be used. Some would argue that calling humans a resource means they're meant to be used to depletion, right? And that's not the case. And that's often what the best human resource directors have already come to realize without having a new term for it, without having a new buzzword. They realize that the goal here is not to deplete this resource, right? So human resources is usually the one leading the charge on creating programs to attract and working in tandem with marketing when companies are lucky enough to have someone like an Aarin Reed who can help distill big ideas down to palpable messages. They're usually the ones leading the charge and understanding that, for one, being flexible with something as small as how an employee is able to access a healthcare plan, right? Flexible spending accounts these days are a really big deal, and that flexible is the most important part of that, right? The ability to be flexible with how you address your needs, because if you're meeting people where they're at, you recognize that different people have different needs, right? And they can all perform up to whatever agreed upon level you set. They can all perform there if you meet them where they're at to address their needs to hit that performance level, right? So again, the best human resources directors understand that and bring new strategies to the table to constantly pay attention to where they're already getting a handful of applicants from. Are most of the people here word of mouth because we actually have really great retention already, and everyone has been referred by someone else who already works here? Great. Let's focus on that, right? Let's focus on what that means to the company. Let's focus on why we have 3 major contracts, right? That will make or break if one, or heaven forbid, 2 of those contracts go away. There will be a huge shift in what we're able to do, right? So they're able to look at things that way, right? They're able to match what you were saying. I don't think there's any manufacturer that has customer service in their lexicon, right? I think they have sales departments, right? Some of them have entire departments, some of them individual, some of them none, right? And it's, as you said earlier, the manager wearing several hats across the company, managing sales, managing employee satisfaction, managing production, and having to switch those hats throughout the day, right? Throughout the week, throughout the quarter. But the ones that are fortunate enough to be structured and where they have someone focused on sales, I think even those still don't quite have a customer service thought process in their lexicon. I think, again, those HR departments working in tandem with the operations departments are understanding that you need to have a certain level of, you need to get rid of the dissonance between how your customers experience your company and how your employees experience your company. They should be one and the same. When I was in the hospitality industry working for that hotel, part of my role before becoming a general manager was becoming a brand and culture director. And that was a snazzy term that not a lot of people understood. But again, language is important, The brand that the company expresses externally and the culture that we had internally needed to be managed, needed to be in tandem, right? If there was dissonance between us saying that we had a quality product, right, and a quality fun experience, and all of our employees were having a poor quality, terrible experience, they were not going to communicate our brand accurately, right? So that brand and culture director really is about removing the dissonance between your external and internal, right? So that the culture of your company is indeed the brand. That culture will dictate the brand, right? And you'll feel that in what I think you're asking about, Kurt, in that customer service, right? So it's less about the customer's always right and what are our strategies in customer service, right? It's less this idea of how people view tableside service and things like that, and more HR directors who are working towards getting rid of the dissonance between how companies are managing their relationships with their customers and how they're managing their relationships with their employees.
Awesome.
Another, dude. Yeah. Is that number 4? Is that Mike?
I think it's 4
right there. So that has not been said on this show ever, of how bridging those two together. That was just absolutely brilliant, Aarin. I couldn't love that more. We have a couple comments here I got to pull up here. Is it live or Memorex? Is that the same gen as Kurt Anderson? A little Gen X reference there. So thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. So again, guys, if you can't hit your rewind button, just kind of drag that little button back and you got to replay some of this. Here, we've got a great comment here, Damon. We've got, that's exactly what some organizations are naming that as talent capital management.
Indeed.
And Aarin says, live the brand, grow the brand. So this is absolutely awesome. So, man, we've covered an absolute ton. If you've got a few more, I know you're super busy, and I could talk to you all day. We were talking about the blue economy before we jumped live. So fascinating. I love what you were talking about. Hey, what's good for Rhode Island, good for the rest of the country, right? You have a lot of exciting things being manufactured in a great state of Rhode Island. You're also a coastal state. So Aarin, talk a little bit about what are some of the really cool, fun projects or some of the cool companies that you're seeing, because you have a nice mix there in Rhode Island. What's going on there on that front?
We do. That's one of the great things we found during our last major industry-wide survey, is that unlike several other states, there's not one single heavy driving force in manufacturing. We cover a very wide berth of things. People might think of Massachusetts as synonymous with biotech, or Detroit as synonymous with the automotive industry, right? And rightly so. Although there are also hundreds of other subsectors, right? There are clear driving forces in those towns. Here, we truly do it all, and it's so interesting to see. But pretty much you need it, we make it here in Rhode Island. So I'm sorry, your question was about.
Yeah, so we're talking a little bit about the blue economy. So energy.
So our sister, we have an entire sister organization devoted to the blue economy, because that's growing legs, right? You have offshore wind is a buzz that's on everybody's mind, but there's so much more to the entire ecosystem that makes up that blue economy, right? Anything ocean, right? You've got tons of local fisheries, right? You've got the science behind it. We are a coastal town, as you said, so we're also growing your mussels. We're doing everything. We've got your mussels, your oysters, your fisheries. We've got all number of things, including the offshore wind, as is big around the country. Damon, you were mentioning that you had some offshore wind kind of knowledge from out there in Seattle. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's happening all over. That the offshore power generation is really something. And with us here in the Northwest, we have such a fishing heritage and the industry, and we support a lot of the fishing that actually, because we're the first destination south in the U.S. with the Alaska efforts, and it's absolutely amazing. I mean, when you drive, when you just see when you're driving by a quarter of a mile of fishing nets along the road that that come back every year to get repaired and turn around and go back. There's so much in the blue economy that we don't even know about. And as you mentioned, that's just the tip of the iceberg, because we all think about fishing and aquaculture and things like that.
Right.
But the power generation and the other things that are coming from the oceans is really, really exciting as well. So
Yeah.
that's
So we've
cool
got
to hear.
an entire sister organization, 401
Nice.
devoted to that, as well as driving technology innovation in other areas. Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome.
All right. So we're gonna close things down here, Aarin. So as we come into the top of the hour, let's couple last questions for you.
All right.
So anything new, exciting summer plans like going on at Polaris? Any events, anything that we should be aware of coming up that you want to promote or just share, or just outside of just reaching out to you?
Mm-hmm. Manufacturing Day, and dare I say Manufacturing Month, will be upon us in the month of October.
Yep.
I welcome any and all who have any zany ideas. The zanier, the better, actually, for how to interface with manufacturing, whether you yourself watching our manufacturer, whether you have somebody who works for a manufacturer, whether you just have an interesting question that leads you to an idea that you think would be interesting, an interesting way to connect with manufacturing. I want to hear it. We want to be involved in that rebranding of manufacturing in the state. We want to make sure that everyone understands the opportunity, so that we can continue to help them gain access to it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Aarin's been awesome today. She's
putting that stuff in
Blue Economy, so good resource related to blue economy and what's going on in Rhode Island. And
of course, she has my back. I told you.
A little shout out to
she does.
Day. So we've got that coming up, and it's going to be here quick. So all right, we've covered an absolute ton today. First off, I cannot express my thanks, my gratitude for your passion, your energy, sharing your expertise with us. I just absolutely love it. So guys, again, as you're out there, and the great thing for entrepreneurs and manufacturers, well, this isn't the great thing. The MEP network is a great thing, but so many entrepreneurs and manufacturers, they feel they're alone. They're in a silo. Boy, their nose is to the grindstone, and they're just literally a lot of times just putting out fires all day. Like you just said, Aarin, they're HR 1 minute, they're finance the next minute. Hey, I'll do some marketing sales the next minute. Oh, by the way, now I need to worry about safety. My supply chain is a mess. So, God bless our manufacturers. They're going through so much. And with the conversation here today, you want to lean on other experts. These are your trusted guides, your resources. You see the passion and the energy from gentlemen like Aarin here, Aarin on the chat box. And this is, I'm telling you, Damon, we talked to dozens of folks from the MEP network. This is what we love to do, is shining a bright light on the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. And this is just if this is your first time hearing about this, it's just a small taste of all the skills, the talent, and the expertise that you can capture at the MEP network. So, Aarin, you opened up the program talking about Sharon, God bless her, the hero, the white knightess. I don't know, what would she be? So, the hero of your life. We're going to close things out. You talked about your 7-year-old, Avery. So it sounds like you have a lot of great things going on. And one of your top priorities was balance of life. Mm-hmm. Last question for you today. Mm-hmm. You shared who is the hero as a young man growing up. Today, where you're at, and again, you're just such a success. You're such an inspiration to us. Who inspires you? Who inspires you every day to just keep delivering great your expertise, your superpowers? Who's inspiring you today on a daily basis?
My wife.
Your wife. Oh, what a great
there you
answer.
go.
So brownie points here, but also truth. My wife showed me how to actualize my values into a role, right? She's the one who helped me make the move, not because I needed to flee hospitality or because I needed to, really look at my experience as negative at all, but rather as that next best step was to focus in on what part of what I was doing really spoke to my values, what part of what I was doing was the driving force, right? I watch her every day be not just an educator, right? And I say that to say that term can be nebulous, right? An educator, most of us might think teacher and kind of leave it at that. She's been truly able to actualize her values within the wide world of education, doing so many things. She's a consultant, right? She is an actual classroom teacher, now turned professor, right? She is one part of the team that runs an entire department at Rhode Island College, right? She does usually about 3 things at once, occasionally only 2, usually about 3 important things, right, in their own right at once. And just watching that, it's not about the drive and the hard work and the right and that bootstrapping mentality. It's not that that's so impressive to me. It's how she's able to do all of these very important things, always from the standpoint of what she truly believes is right and what she truly believes is useful to the rest of the world, right? So it's just an inspiration to watch, and it's a great lesson. It's a great model to have next to you when you're hearing, what you should be doing and how you should be spending your time every day. It's great to have an easy reminder.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mike, was that number 5 or 6? I lost.
Yeah, it's 5. Yeah, it's 5.
Aarin, and the name of your wife, please.
Rachel.
Oh man, look at these strong leaders, these women in your life, and what an inspiration, what a blessing. So we give a huge shout out, and Damon, he dropped it again. The next best thing. Was that the line? Yeah. Next best thing. So I think I think we need to get t-shirts. The next best thing, and we'll credit
me on that. I heard that on Brene Brown, which I welcome you all to go listen to Brene Brown's podcast. And she might have heard it elsewhere because it just makes sense. It's one of those, like, don't worry, be happy. I'm not exactly sure who's the first to say it, like, I know there's a song.
Yeah.
It's popular, but it's one of those things, right? It just makes so much sense that it's kind of hard to, for any one person, I think, to take credit for it. But just do the next best.
Awesome.
Thing.
Brittany, she gets tons. She's blown it up on her TED Talk and all that. She's got enough on her plate. We're going to give Sharon all the credit for this one. You tell Sharon that we're saying that she's the originator of our new T-shirt line that we're going to launch, and we'll manufacture them right in Rhode Island. So, all right, guys, we have one last comment here. I want to drop from our dear friend Aarin. And hey, Aarin, we got to have you on the program sometime. Damon, you would love to meet Aarin. She is so much fun, ball of energy. She's a marketing guru at the Rhode Island MEP, Polaris, if you will. So, Aarin, let's close out on this. Thank you for sharing your energy, your passion, your family, your expertise, your story, your history. What a gem you are. What a blessing this has been for Damon, myself, and anybody out there listening. So, guys, please connect with Aarin, connect with the Polaris MEP. If you're coming to us from another state, connect with your local MEP. We're going to close things out. Damon, this week we have a big week. Aarin,
yes, we
do. Down for this one. So on Thursday, we are interviewing Joe Foster, the founder of Reebok. Yes. The gentleman that founded, I can't believe.
It's incredible.
The founder of Reebok, he and his brother started Reebok from scratch in 1958. It took him decades, and it is a phenomenal story. It took him decades. He turned it into a $1 billion brand, and we are super blessed and fortunate. We're going to be interviewing Joe here right on LinkedIn Live on Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific. And this is what we love to do, just interviewing manufacturing rock stars like Aarin, Joe Foster, and anybody else out there. Just reach out to myself and Damon. We'd love to have you on the program. So go out there. Damon, any parting thoughts for this wonderful Monday, June 13th?
No, just go out and do it.
Go out and do it. So, guys, go out, keep spreading your awesomeness everywhere that you are. Keep loving manufacturing. Remember, manufacturing, all the cool kids are doing it. So you want to pursue that manufacturing career. Aarin, hang out with us for 1 second. And, guys, God bless. Have an awesome day, and we will see you on Thursday. So thank you, dude.
Thanks so much, everyone.